Bom dia, good day, good day. The message is strong today, and I need to record this before it slips my mind or passes me by. Because sometimes that happens. Sometimes I have something really strong, calm, and I don't write it down or speak on it straight away. And then a few hours later, or I'm falling asleep at night, something comes to me, and I'm like, I'll remember that. That's real strong. I'll remember that. And then I wake up and I'm like, oh, what was it that I was... What was that? What was that message? So, let's go. Stop expecting or waiting for what has decided and what is meant to be limited to understand and accept your limitlessness. Stop expecting what has decided it is limited to accept and understand your limitlessness. There's multiple parts to this, so let's try and get into it. Okay, first, there's the external version of this and there's the internal version of this. The way this may manifest in the external. Stop expecting other people who have decided to stay asleep and decided to stay in judgment and in a limited mindset to get that you are not bound by the same limits as them. So the collective consciousness has risen and has woken up, and right now there's almost this climactic sense going on where we feel the separation, or we feel the polarity, because nothing is really separated, but we feel the polarity between those who have woken up and chosen to walk on the path of remembrance and dispelling illusions and the seeking of truth, or just the remembering of truth and going within, versus the people who have not and who choose to still live in ego and choose to still live in fear. Fear is more accurate, because we all have ego, and that I will get to that in a bit. No matter how many times you try and help or guide people to remember because you do not want them to be left behind, it is not your job. And your existence and your pursuit to live in your truth and to go past your fears and to liberate yourself is powerful, and it's work enough. You know that saying, you can lead a horse to water but you can't make it drink? You can't pry someone's eyes open. You can't force someone to see. And who's to say your way of seeing is right for everyone anyway? Who's to say that your path of remembrance or your way to go is correct for everyone? Everybody is essential in this life. There was a poem, I'll see if I can find it, but shared by a beautiful guide that I had in this life a few years ago, and it was about how the ecosystem of life and how we cannot judge anyone who chooses to walk on a different path than us, or who is destined to stay on a path of fear. And it's not for us to try and change that fate for them. It's for us to go within and focus on ourselves. We cannot keep on trying to prove ourselves, or trying to prove and persuade almost the masses of people who are still here to live in a fearful, egoic way of being. There's not one path above the other. That's why there's so much spiritual ego, almost all of these things about love and light and the path of this and blah blah blah, high vibration, low vibration. Yeah, I get it, but it turns into something that just is really about shaming those who are not concerned with what you're doing. They're not on board. Why shame those who are just living their lives? The amount of people who remember their power and awaken and elevate their consciousness and expand their knowledge and reconnect with their roots and the ancient wisdom and whatever. And we're seen as crazy, we're seen as out of touch, we're seen as just delusional, my alarm just went off. But the core of this message is what has decided, or what is fated to stay in a state of limitedness and ego and fear will obviously not accept or understand what has expanded past that. If you have expanded past your state of illusion, your state of finiteness, then it's you're not going to be understood by people, and it's going to be difficult. You're going to have to turn away from people who you love and who love you. I believe there is a possibility of balancing and being able to still interact and love and share space with people of all walks of life and people of all mindsets and states of consciousness and vibrations and whatever you want to say. But you have to accept it. If you are not accepted, you're going to be misunderstood. But that just goes for anyone in life, any path, any background, any path, any journey. Just because you think your truth is above someone else's truth, that's still an illusion, and it's still from ego. So it's better to just let it go, because otherwise you're going to keep on having a sense of disappointment and heartbreak and grief every time you realize, wow, like these people or this loved one or this group or this community or this space just don't get me. They just don't get it, and it's a lonely path, but you will find other people who are awake, and you will be able to sense it. You'll be able to feel the energy. You become very, very sensitive. I'm sure anyone who's watching this knows what I mean, and then that's the manifestation of it externally in other beings, like in other people on this earth. But it also can work for within as well. Like, no matter how many awakenings, any psychedelic ceremonies you want to do, you're still in a human body right now, and you still have an ego. No matter how much we want to go into ego death and say this and that, ego death can happen momentarily, but your ego is only gonna really, really die and be gone when your physical body dies and be gone, So you cannot expect yourself in your human form to truly understand and remember constantly the vastness of your true spirit and your consciousness and the interconnectedness of everything and the expansiveness of your heart, your soul, your energy. You can feel it. You can feel it sometimes, maybe in a meditative state, maybe when you have you're channeling certain energies, when you're worshipping, when you're in ceremony, when you're on psychedelics, whatever that may be for you, the way that you connect to source and you feel that expansiveness and that sense of limitlessness, and you remember, oh my gosh, like I'm just everything and everything, like, and I'm nothing, and I'm just, that sense of ego death can be accessed and is, accessible to everyone, but not everyone will access it, number one, and number two, you can't be there all the time. You have to come back. You have to come back to ego, because that's what we're here to experience, whether we like it or not. Having a sense of ego death or remembrance or true alignment with spirit and stuff can only happen momentarily. And if further on in your journey, you become better at sustaining it, you become better at identifying it around you and within you, you become more sensitive to it and sensitive to the actions and decisions that you make that come from that place, the things that you do that come from fear, that rather come from the empowerment of your spirit and the alignment with the divine, what comes from your higher self, the divine self source, versus what comes from your dense 3D being. And just because we see is one higher than the other, right now we're here to experience the marrying and the unity of both those things, of both spirit and ego, of both higher consciousness and dense 3D physical reality. Even though we say this is an illusion, it's still real. We are in a finite body now. There are some things that arguably, because this is the way this program is, we've been programmed to believe, we've become to believe that there is a limit to the magic here on this earth, when really it's just there's meant to be a separation between this reality and this finite beingness with the infinite consciousness. Like, we believe we can't just snap our fingers and change reality. And so it is, like, we're directed by our beliefs and the way that we've been programmed. And part of this program is, I can't just take off and fly right now. But the other day I was flying. I jumped out of a plane and I skydived. And I can get on a plane and I can travel to different countries because my consciousness knows it's possible in one way or the other, and therefore it can exist in this reality. But coming back to my original point, you cannot expect what is finite and what has accepted itself as finite, which we all have on some level, because we are here to experience that. We are here to experience the program and the experience of being human. That comes with its limits, that comes with its rules, but it also comes with so many breaking of those rules. You can't fly, here's a plane. You can't fly, here's skydiving. You can't fly, here's paragliding. You can't fly, here's dreams where you have the sensation of flying and you fly, because that's also a reality in itself. There are always these points of access to things that we believe aren't possible. So what's to say what is possible and what isn't possible? But we are here to experience ego. We are here to experience a limited version of our divine consciousness, because we are just the universe giving birth to itself and having a finite experience, like the illusion or just a different reality of where things are finite, where we get the experience of being mortal, because we are immortal and we are limitless. So we get to experience being limited as well. Part of being limitless is experiencing being limited as well, and having bounds and restrictions to your experience. That is part of the limitless experience. The abundance of experience includes having the experience of being limited. So accept that as part of this journey. Welcome the parts of you that are limited, so you can really appreciate what it means that we are all truly limitless and we're all connected to everything. Move with love for forgetting on the journey of remembrance. You're still a feeling being. You're still here to have the experience of emotion, of ego, of forgetting, of judgment, of the highs and lows of being human. Relish in your limitlessness, and also appreciate and relish in this limited denser human experience that we have now, and enjoy bridging the two. Enjoy traveling between this and that. Enjoy remembering, enjoy forgetting, enjoy the ego. Use it. Laugh at yourself when you find yourself caring so much. Forgive yourself when you judge, and know that you're going to do it again anyway. Even if you know, I'm beyond this. I'm beyond judgment. I'm beyond fear. But you're still going to get scared. You're still going to have those things. It's better to just accept it and try to enjoy it. But if you don't enjoy it, that's also part of the experience too. And if you don't accept it, that's also part of the experience too. And yeah, if that resonated, big love. And yeah, have a good day.